Hi everyone, my name is Rajni. Welcome to SQ TV. Today I have with me a very special guest joining us from Northern Ireland, and his name is Glenn Oaks. So let's welcome him to SQ TV. Hi, Mr. Glenn. Welcome to SQ TV. How are you?
I am in tip-top condition. Hello, India. I hope life is good for you over there.
Yes, it is. And also, this video will be streaming not just in India but all over the world. So you can say
Oh,
hello to everyone who's watching us right now or will be later.
that's fantastic. And a special hello to my friends over in the US. I've just joined a networking group called Synapse, which is just some of the most wonderful people I've ever come across. But yeah, isn't it marvelous the way we can just communicate with each other? It doesn't matter where you are in the world anymore. It's kind of still mind blowing for me.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I think one thing this 2020 has done good to us is that we are able to connect with everyone from all over the world, regardless of, the country they are living in, the place they are in. It's just that, we just need to be online and we get connected to, anywhere from anywhere.
It's a wonderful thing. It really is, and it's been good for my business in that respect. That I'm now less restricting myself to Northern Ireland, but reaching out to other countries and over into the rest of the UK and connecting with people in the States. And I've spoken to people from Bangladesh and people from India and people from Africa. It's just a tremendous thing. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, even I do. I think that is the reason we also get connected. We also got connected, and we are speaking with each other right now. I think. I
Yes,
mean, yes,
yes.
this COVID has taken a lot from us, but it has most certainly does done this particular thing right.
It may not be a popular view, but for me personally, from a totally selfish view, the pandemic has had a lot positives in my life. It's helped me look at the type of person which I am. It's helped me quite quite aggressively change my business and as to how the business operates and bringing on new people to help me. So yeah, I have to say it's helped my clients to force themselves to look at new ways to generate income. And a lot of the new wins which people are coming across, they're going to keep. The other end of the pandemic, and I am a strong believer that there's still a lot of scope for a lot of people and a lot of organizations to come out of this disaster stronger, more robust, more resilient, and have more sustainable organizations. So, yep, it's grim at its worst, but there's certainly been some positives that have come out of it, I think. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason, and at the end, it happens for good. So even I believe in it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the good days.
Yeah. Okay. So now, speaking of you, this, like you said, that this pandemic has taught you a lot. So that it has taught you that what kind of person are you. So it has, I mean, taught you a lot. So if you can talk about that, and then we'll move to a bit about yourself and your journey. Yeah.
Well, of two levels in respect of my business and in respect of myself personally. Regarding my business, and I'll touch very swiftly on what I do, is I'm about helping non-profit organizations and charities to generate income streams and to find new fresh ways of helping themselves to generate income. But I would help them with their messaging. So help making sure that charities have good, clear messaging, which give a strong case for support and can, quite clearly articulate what their vision is and what their aims are and the core values of the organization. And then I would help them to find good income streams which are a good fit for them. And that can range across a wide range of things such as corporate partnerships or encouraging people to maybe get involved in a lottery or encouraging people to leave a legacy in the will when they pass, a whole range of different things, and then helping those charities to make sure that their supporters and their donors get a superior top-notch experience so that it's a fulfilling, rewarding experience and they keep coming back for more. And a lot of that is about helping individuals to paint a picture in their mind to see the impact which they're making and the difference which they're making by giving a donation. So my organisation has had to pivot, and I'm glad that it has forced me into this situation. It can be quite frustrating doing my job, particularly since I would do a lot of freelance work for big national £20 million a year income charities, but I would also do a lot of work helping smaller organisations with their strategic direction and their messaging. And it can be very challenging for them to even have money to pay for basic things. I have had several clients in the past who have had CEOs who work for no money and indeed use their own money to invest into their charity to keep it alive. So I am shifting my non-profit or my profitable business into becoming a non-profit organisation itself. And that then means that I can approach the charities who I sometimes do a bit of pro bono work for. Sometimes I just have to walk away from because they can't afford to pay money and I don't have time to do voluntary work all of the time. But being a non-profit organisation, I can apply for grants and funding, so I can then get other third-party organisations to pay me, and I can then provide my services for free to non-profit organisations. So that's been one way which I've shifted from being a business to, not yet, but about to become a non-profit organisation. So that's been very useful. It's made me think about providing a fuller service. So I've brought on a couple of new business associates, so we can now help charities with their branding, so in respect of producing logos, etc. And then I have another specialist, and she deals with social media. So a lot of organisations that come across kind of use their social media in a bit of an ad hoc way and don't think very strategically or really use it effectively. So we can now help with generating income, raising the profile of the organisation, and with communications. So that's been the two major shifts. In respect of, I kind of thought about my behaviour. I had a lot of time. We had what I call the proper lockdown, I think in April time, where I spent a lot of time thinking about things, appreciating the simple things in life. And thankfully, when we come out of that lockdown, I managed to keep that emotion. And now, today, I appreciate nature more than I used to. I appreciate my family more than I used to. I appreciate my health more than I used to. I would, do a little bit in respect of gratitude now. And I have a lovely friend, Hillary, and she helps people with breathing exercises to help reduce stress. And I use it when I'm feeling a bit grumpy. And I'm even grateful when I'm doing my breathing exercises to breathe, because I think that there's a lot of people out there today who can't. So it's made me think about my attitude in life. It's made me a better person. I now have a hashtag, kindness works, which I use mostly on LinkedIn, and kindness work is getting a bit of traction and a little bit of momentum, and I see other people are starting to use it, and it's all about showing through proof and example all the other benefits of being kind, because there are all sorts of good things that come out of being kind, and being kind causes ripples which nudges other people towards being kind. So yeah, it's had a couple of major impacts on me, and I remain optimistic that the day is going to come that this will all be behind us and we'll get back on our feet again.
Yeah, and I hope that too. And also, kindness indeed works, and that's beautiful. I mean, I feel that this corona and this this lockdown, pandemic, whatever you call it, has taken a lot from us, but also, like you mentioned, that it has given you that a gratitude, an attitude of gratitude. So which is beautiful, and that's really amazing, and I'm happy for you. And now speaking of non-profit organization, your non-profit organization and the fundraising work that you do. So is it like one specific kind of organization that you raise funds for, or it could be like any any non-profit organization that you raise funds for?
It's any type of non-profit organisation. Quite often what my clients do is they'll rely on a couple of narrow income streams. So they'll maybe be providing services for the government, which they're paid for, and helping organise or applying to funding organisations to get grants. And
Mm-hmm.
I can help them with the grant giving, and giving a good, clear case for support and providing lots and lots of evidence to prove to people that they're going to measure that they can make a difference. But I would also help them to find what else works for them. What other ways are there to generate income? Quite
Mm-hmm.
often, for example, I have a client at the moment who's a tremendous following on social media, but they've never really tapped in to that following on social media to encourage those individuals to generate income by volunteering and fundraising and giving donations. So I'll help them find other ways which are a good fit for them. And that could be,
Okay.
setting up volunteer fundraising committees or encouraging major donors to give money, or crowdfunding for particular items. And sometimes it's the very most basic, simple things, as in gift aid. Here we have a process whereby if someone gives a donation to a charity and they are working, the charity can then reclaim back the gift aid from the government. And simple bottom line stuff like that sometimes gets overlooked. So it's finding quick wins, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
finding income which is sustainable, so it keeps coming in an ongoing basis. And um, quite often also income which is not restricted. So the charities then can use the money the way they best want to use that money. There's there's been a bit of a struggle through some charities who report to government what the problems are and what issues they faced on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
to advise the government on how their funding policy is. But sadly, sometimes the government does not follow through. And we have organisations who see a need, want to satisfy that need from a group of people, but they can't do it through government funding anymore because they'd have to twist their program and tweak their program to make it fit what the government wants them to do. So to free them up and to make them be able to work in the way which they think works best, I'll help them to find unrestricted income through a range of different ways so that they can create their projects their way and satisfy the needs of their supporters. So yeah, it's just finding new ways to do things, giving them stronger communications and making sure that there's a really good customer experience, and the customer in this case is the donor or the supporter or fundraiser.
Okay, I mean that's really amazing, and I also would like to ask you one more thing that there are a lot of non-profit organizations in the world. So we have also interviewed a couple of them in our channel. So now I would like to ask you here that you yourself are a fundraiser for a lot of non-profit organizations, and you help them raise money. So now when I ask you if you can please, is there a strategy because it happens that a lot of organizations, non-profit organizations, they do raise money, but because of the funds not getting in and a lot of problems that they face, because of which the non-profit organization shuts down and it doesn't work. So, is there a strategy how others can also raise funds and how others can raise money for their organizations? I mean, only if you want to share. Only then I'm asking.
Well, look, if you're a non-profit organisation, you're completely right. You must have a strategy. You must have a strategy. And I do see some organisations who just go through no process. They're kind of operating from day to day, right down to the very, very basics of it all. You must be able to articulate very clearly what you do. So in a paragraph, what is your vision? What way do you want it? And your vision is, in an ideal world, it may be, in an ideal world, I do not want any fluffy bunny rabbits to die before they
Mm-hmm.
are dying of old age. Whatever your organization's into. So you have to have very clear aims, very clear values, and create a personality about what your organization is all about, and a feel and a brand, and clearly so people can clearly understand what they're giving money for and what difference they're going to make. You actually take the charity out of the picture. You're trying to build a relationship where it's the individual is helping people. It's not give £10 to the charity so that the charity can help someone. It's you give £10 and you will help someone. So a lot of the messaging is important. So I would also go and look at the organization and do a review. So I would find out what strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats there are. And at that point, you quite often find, oh, there's a particular element within your organization which lends itself to this particular income stream. So, for example, recently I talked to a charity in Canada, and because of their lockdown, they had relied on one income stream and it pretty much disappeared. And they were distraught because their supporters were all a lot older and there was no energy. But we were able to see strength out of that because older people have money and older people are thinking about writing their will. And we were able to pull together, some strategic direction to find the quick wins and where the strong possibilities are there for there being successes. And a lot of it's simple, looking at competitors and analysing what competitors do and how they're successful. I would look at the organization's current fundraising activities to see if they're doing things effectively, because the great enemy of fundraising is attrition. If you lose a donor, it costs you about 5 times more to replace that donor. Sorry, 5 times more to replace that donor than it does to just nurture their support. And it's not just about keeping that donor, it's about moving that donor through a journey. So, for example, I know of one lady in a charity that I work with. She started off giving a £5 donation, and she then moved to making that a £5 monthly donation. And then a couple of years later, actually, she did an abseil. So she climbed down the side of a building in Belfast. And then she set up a fundraising committee. And that fundraising committee was raising like £25,000 per year. And when she died, she left, I can't recall, it was like £20,000 or £30,000 in her will. If that lady had given that £5, and not had stewardship and not been nurtured and supported and encouraged to see the difference she's making, she may well have disappeared to a different charity. But because we looked after her so well, she came with us on a journey, and over the course of, I guess she was there for about maybe 15 years, she donated tens and tens of thousands of pounds. So the supporter care and what we call the supporter journey, which is about nurturing loyalty and reducing that attrition, is what it's all about. And then finding the mix, the blend of income streams which are going to work well for you, and establishing, well, what do I need to do this? Resources, what staff do I need? How much is this going to cost? How am I going to do it? Are staff going to do it? Or increasingly popular, are we going to have a volunteer-led organisation? We have a structure of volunteers who help other people to fundraise and generate income. And then having it sort of planned out, having a programme of activity, which is the time-bound milestones of activities and the outcomes which they're going to lead to. So it might be January 2021, we will be doing this, and it will start to result in income in January or in November 2021. But it's having a process in place that you can monitor and control, that you're on track to achieve what you predicted to achieve, so that you don't get to that point and discover, that didn't really work as we'd hoped. But you can preempt the pitfalls and see what's going to happen in advance of it, so that you can take corrective action. And then having it all in a document which gives financial projections, so you can clearly see where you're going to be in a year, in 2 years, and in 3 years. And it's not a quick win quite often. Sometimes you may not even break even in the first year. So it's a long-term strategic direction to make sure that you're sustainable and you're there for decades to come, and not struggling year to year.
Okay, that's that's a great strategy that you told there. And also, I think strategy is something that, like you mentioned, that strategy is something one need to have if they want to sustain in a business, or or whatever that you do. You need to have a strategy, because at the end of the day, you will have, because you are convincing someone else to spend their money. So, in that case, you have a strategy. And now, I also would like to ask you one question. There are a lot of non-profit organizations that start with a good motive, but slowly and gradually they shut down with their own reasons, because a lot of reasons happening, a lot of situation happening. So why do you think is this happening, that a lot of non-profit organizations that are starting with a good intention, with a good motive, so and they shut down, and that too very soon? Why is that happening?
Why are charities closing down?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's about messaging. It's so difficult. Like you have to realize, my goodness, like here in the UK, a lot of our income generation would rely on fundraising events, and a
Okay.
lot of those fundraising events are all about people mixing together and integrating together. And those events have just been completely pulled. And there's a
I mean,
lot of
I'm so sorry to
organisations are
interrupt.
on.
I'm really sorry to
No,
interrupt you
no.
here, but I just would like to mention here one thing, that what is that these organizations are doing wrong, that they are shutting down and closing so soon. Even though they are starting with good motive, good intention, but they are shutting down really soon. So what is that they are doing wrong?
Well, they're not bringing in enough money, I would imagine, is the issue. And that's been particularly challenging for us in these recent times as a result of the pandemic. The pandemic has knocked the voluntary sector for six in the UK and in Northern Ireland. It is tremendously difficult and challenging times, and some organisations are having to close. Some organisations are having to make a lot of staff redundant. Personally, I have to say, I'm finding that quite often it's the smaller organisations which are more nimble and are able to adjust their working methods, which have helped. But it's just it is not easy at the moment. It is not easy. There's a lot
Yeah.
of organisations out there who are competing with each other, and
Hmm.
there's greater demands as a result of the pandemic. Like I have a wonderful organisation I work with, me, you, and them, and they do a range of things to help people. One of them is providing food banks. So they provide free food for people who are struggling financially. Now, the people who
Hmm.
used to donate the food to that food bank are now the people which are coming to that food bank to get the free food,
Hmm.
because the pandemic has just created so much more demands on charities, and there's less money about from charity supporters. So you can see, more work, less income, and that's why it's just so important to take time out to sit back and think, right, look ahead. What is the best way through this? Sometimes it's by working differently, and sometimes it's by
Hmm.
finding new ways where the pandemic doesn't have such an impact, and people try to adjust. For example, if you're doing a sponsored event to climb a mountain, because we don't know what's going to happen with restrictions, you write in that if we don't get to climb that mountain, you're going to do it by climbing up and down your stairs 100 times.
Hmm.
Whatever, people are having to think of new creative ways to fill that huge big gap. Like, when you think even of, like, we would have the Belfast Marathon. Now, I don't know how much, but I guess there's certainly tens and tens of thousands of pounds are raised for a
Hmm.
whole range of charities participating in that marathon. There isn't a marathon. A marathon's gone. So there's great, huge gaps in income, and in very many cases, greater demands on organisations and charities to do more work with less funds. So I have a lot of sympathy for people who have kind of fallen out, and have, like, we've got a couple of really good charities here in Northern Ireland that have been forced to close because it's just so difficult.
Yeah.
And it's a question of hanging on in, and doing the very best that you can for the people who you serve.
Okay, okay, great. So, also, is there an advice that you would like to give to those non-profit organizations who are actually trying to sustain in this pandemic? Because, like you mentioned, a lot of things have happened in this pandemic. A lot of non-profit organizations have suffered because of the lockdown happened, people lost their jobs, and so many things happened basically. So, is there an advice that you would like to give to the nonprofit organization people? How can they, hang in there and, just sustain their business?
Well, you do have to have the faith. You have to have a plan. If you want to get ahead, get a plan. You can't just
Okay.
hope for the best. Um, Look after your supporters. Make sure your supporters understand that you're in difficulty. Um, and it's not a question of always asking and asking and asking for money, but it's raising awareness and in your communications through social media, consistently telling them the good things that you're doing, telling the good news stories, but also make them aware that you are struggling, but working so closely with your people to make sure they appreciate how important they are when they're giving you donations, and just sticking at it. Like it is not easy. There is no great easy answer which solves all the solutions. It's just a question of finding the ways which work best for you, and keeping the faith that we will come through this. And it is a journey which we're all on, and it's making sure that your supporters have a strong affinity with you and come with you on that. The government and grant giving trusts have been quite good in respect of providing funding for organisations. Like Northern Ireland's not a big place. We have at the moment we have a system which I hope someday will change. But sanitation and tampons for women are taxed, and that tax has now been used, and there's a £20 million fund to help organisations. And this is what I quite like about grant giving trusts and funders. Quite often, funders have been focused on projects. We want you to show us a project and show us what the outcome is and show us how you're improving the lives of people. They're now getting a little bit more savvy, and they're understanding that organisations do have core costs which they need to run on a day-to-day basis. So there's money out there at the moment through grant giving trusts and through government funding to help organisations be more sustainable, to help those organisations to come through this very difficult time and out the other end. So be very aware of what funding is out there, and have a look at what other sources of income you can do. Think about
Mm-hmm.
how you can do what you're doing slightly differently to improve things, and look after your supporters like they are the gold they are, and make sure that they're aware of all of the different ways in which they can help you to generate income, and make it fun for them, and make sure that they're getting regularly informed through a newsletter and social media that they're making a real difference. So it's making people feel part of your organization, but it's not easy. And planning, it has to be down to planning every time. Take
Mm-hmm.
a bit of time out to have a good look at things and discover the best way forward.
Okay, so have a strategy and have a planning.
Have a strategy, have a plan. And you know what? Speak to someone. Very often, I will speak to any organisation, and I don't charge them, for the first conversation. And indeed, very often, subsequent to that, speak to someone, anyone outside your organisation. Quite often, you're too close to things, and it's difficult to see easy wins. But I can quite often have a conversation with a CEO of a charity, and because I'm looking at things through a fresh pair of eyes, I'm quite swiftly able to spot opportunities which they can't see. So I would encourage people to speak to others who they respect outside their organisation, because they might just pick up on something which is sitting right under your nose, but you just can't see it.
Okay, okay. So, and now when I talk about, your organization, so what is your mission with your organization? What is that you have vision for? You know, when I talk about your organization.
I just want my ideal is that for non-profit organisations to be able to do the work that they want to do and to satisfy the needs of their clients without
Mm-hmm.
money being a brand. That's a vision that may never be achieved, but that ultimately is what we are working towards, is to help organisations to just do the work that they want to do. And it's all about making it a movement and bringing people
Okay,
with you.
okay, okay, amazing. Also, one last question to you. So if can people also connect with you and your organization if they want to, or from all over the world or even from Northern Ireland, can people connect with you?
Yes, I hang out probably far too much on LinkedIn. So if you check
Okay.
out Glen Oaks, and it's GLENN OAKES on LinkedIn, you can track me
Mhm.
down or have a look at my website. We're about to revamp the website because of my new business partners that have come on board, and we're shifting to a non-profit organisation. But Caboodle Fundraising, and that's CABOODLE-fundraising.com. And it's called Caboodle because it's about looking at the whole caboodle. It's about looking at all of the different ways that you can improve your organization and pinpointing the ones which are the best fit for you. But yeah, Caboodle Fundraising or Glen Oaks on LinkedIn. I hang out on Facebook a bit, but mostly LinkedIn.
Okay, amazing, amazing. So, any last message for the audiences?
Keep safe. Stop moaning and complaining about stuff. I know it's not good, but let's have a bit of positivity out there and let's have some good news because it lifts people and it bolsters people. If you're communicating by chucking out negativity and spreading it all about the place, it brings other people's down. So try and keep it light, and we'll all be good in the end. We'll get through it.
And also hashtag kindness works.
Very much so. Hashtag kindness works. If use it wherever you want, and it's when you see examples of people doing acts of kindness, stick in that hashtag because we're trying to make a bit of a movement to raise the appeal of it, and it's an important thing to do in life, and it's a good philosophy to have. There's a lot of grimness out there, and let's bring a bit of lightness to it all.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Glenos, for coming to STube TV and speaking with us. It was so lovely having you on the channel and it was so lovely chatting with you. Thank you once again.
My complete pleasure. It's an absolute joy and lovely to see you.
Yeah, likewise. All right, guys, that's it from STube TV. Keep